ChatGPT, of all of the different chatbots out there, is designed to be addictive.
Sam Altman will one day make money from OpenAI?
It is naive to believe that he hasn't already made money from OpenAI, just not directly by owning shares in it.
He's off scanning people's eyeballs.
Health insurance prices are going up, subsidies are going down, and that's playing off of each other, and it's creating this like perfect storm of like everyone spends more money on healthcare.
The average family is paying $35,000 a year for health insurance now. As a portion of income, when you consider median income in this country, that's crazy.
My number is 2. That is the number of people that I'm aware of who are named Bill de Blasio.
Oh,
Now.
I love this story so much. Hello, and welcome to Slate Money, your guide to the business and finance news of the week. I'm Felix Salmon of Bloomberg. I'm here with Emily Peck of Axios.
Hello.
I'm here with Elizabeth Spiers of the New York Times.
Hello.
And we are on YouTube. So we are you can see us saying hello. I mean, can you imagine anything more fun than literally watching your favorite Slate Money co-hosts say hello? I am in a dimly lit room in Ballyconneely in Ireland. Emily Peck is in Westchester and is preparing for the marathon. Elizabeth Spiers is in Brooklyn and is going to be cheering on the marathon. But before we get to that point, we are going to have conversations. We are going to have discussions. We are going to talk about OpenAI, which is now a fully fledged for-profit company, albeit a PBC. We will discuss what a PBC is. We are going to talk about health insurance and how very expensive it is, which is not good. And it's also caused this whole government shutdown. Many bad things. We are going to talk about a solid gold toilet that is coming up for auction at Sotheby's. We have a Slate Plus segment for the ages, wherein Emily Peck rants about job openings and job losses and whether any of them can be attributed meaningfully to AI. It's a good one this week, and it's all coming up on Slate Money. So let's start this week with OpenAI, because this is a saga that has been going on for a long time. We have covered it on this show in the past, and now it seems to have finally culminated in the thing that everyone wondered whether they could do. It turns out they can do it. A non-profit charity, 501c3, can, with enough lawyers and effort, actually become a for-profit company. I don't think I've really seen this before, nothing quite like this before, but OpenAI is now a for-profit company. It has roughly 25% of it is owned by a non-profit. The rest of it has a standard shareholding type situation, and we are told that they are probably going to go public. They're going to have an IPO either next year or the year after, because that's the only way they can raise enough money to, take over the world. Emily, is this a good thing or a bad thing or neither?
I mean, it's hard to say. Okay, this is what I wrote down. OpenAI.
Yeah, don't tell us, Emily. Just write it down, because that's the best thing to do on a podcast.
Yes.
And now that we're on video, you can just hold it up to the camera.
Well, I didn't print it out. Do you want to wait while I do that? No, this is what I think. So OpenAI is now a public benefit corporation, a PBC, which begs the question right away: where's the public benefit with this company? We've already talked with Kashmir Hill.
I'm going to be that person who says that's not what begs the question means, but go on.
I'm so sorry. Can we cut that? It raises the question: does this company do anything that benefits the public or anything for social welfare or social good? I don't think so. So
let's answer that question, because the official OpenAI answer to that question is there is now a nonprofit that has a stake in OpenAI worth $130 billion. They can now start spending that money, and they've already announced 50 million here and however many other million there. They say they're going to start, supporting various attempts to cure cancer and do other great and wonderful things. And just in terms of the size of the balance sheet, there are very, very few charities on the planet that have as much money as the nonprofit.
Not to push back at you, but you did not just answer the question. They say they're going to do cancer research is not an answer to the question of, does this company do anything that benefits the public? We had Kashmir Hill on the show a few weeks ago to talk about how ChatGPT, the product that they make that millions and millions of people use, drives people to psychosis and in some instances even murder and other bad stuff. There was some new data that ChatGPT that OpenAI put out this past week saying that with numbers showing like a small sliver of users become psychotic using the product. And the percentages were small, but it was in the tens of thousands of people. So there's an argument that instead of being good for the public, this harms the public.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Wait, and let me just close the loop on this one. To be clear, I 100% agree with you on this one. A public benefit corporation, the whole point of a public benefit corporation is that the corporation, qua corporation, should act in the public benefit. Just because some percentage of its equity is owned by a charity does not make the corporation a good corporation which is working in the public interest. The way that OpenAI says that they are dealing with this question is by taking all of the members of the nonprofit board and basically making them the for-profit board members too. And the idea is that these board members are going to somehow have the world's interests at heart rather than just shareholders' interests at heart when they make their decisions. All I will say about that is one of those board members is Larry Summers.
Also, the one board member who has a non-voting share is this trust and safety guy who is ostensibly dealing with what Emily was talking about. But I just want to highlight that, it's not the bar for becoming a public benefit corporation is pretty low. You can justify, and these are called B Corps informally.
Well, no, that's two different things, Elizabeth. You're right, the bar for becoming
We can't.
If you're watching on YouTube, guys, something fantastic just happened, and we don't quite know how. Can I do this? Does that work again?
For those listening,
balloons
only.
just emerged in front of Felix's face because he gestured in a certain way.
I gestured. I don't know how to get the balloons back, but to try. I hope to God that the balloons will come back. But in the absence, all I will say is that you are right that the bar for becoming a PBC is low. Basically, all you need to do is say I'm a PBC, and then you're a PBC. By the same token, if you ever want to stop being a PBC, all you need to say is, we are no longer a PBC, and then you're no longer a PBC. It doesn't really constrain you in any important or strategic way. A B Corp is different. A B Corp is a company that has been certified by B Lab as reaching a certain level of standards, and that certification is quite difficult to achieve. And so long as you keep that certification, there is at least some kind of third party, respected third party saying, yes, you are doing your bit to make the world a better
you're
place.
Right. But I have encountered so many PBCs that refer to themselves as B Corp despite not clearing that certification. Like they're sort of used interchangeably, even if they shouldn't be.
Yeah, do not call yourself a B Corp if you're not a B Corp, people. That's just lying.
I guess also, now that I'm sort of thinking about it, and one could argue I should have thought about it before coming onto the Zoom, but just because a company is a nonprofit also doesn't mean it's a good company. There are tons of not-for-profits, more in the political space that, you could really have strong arguments either way. They're good for society, bad for society.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of companies that are governed by or owned by nonprofits, like Bertelsmann, the publishing house, for instance, is owned by a nonprofit. Does that make it a good company? I don't know. I believe up until very recently, the NHL was technically a nonprofit. Sorry, no, the NFL was technically a nonprofit, and that doesn't make it a good company. It's just a form of corporate ownership. That's all.
Yeah, it's really just about the tax status, because with a nonprofit, the big difference is that, it's also a misnomer. Most nonprofits are profitable, or they should be. But it's about what happens to the assets if you dissolve the company. And in a nonprofit, the assets don't get, or the company doesn't get dispersed to, shareholders or owners or anything like that. You're required to disperse the assets toward whatever cause that you're supposedly, supporting. And that usually means turning over assets to a similar nonprofit. So it's really just a tax status and ownership status thing.
What OpenAI has done is just restructured itself so that it can take more money from investors and maybe go public.
Yes.
But it's the same company. Yeah. Like it maybe with operating with a slight more freedom to do things like work on ChatGPT versus work on curing cancer and things like that.
So it's like, basically what happened a while back was that Sam Altman became CEO of OpenAI and said, look, we are a nonprofit and our job is to create a safe AGI, artificial general intelligence. And it turns out, upon doing a bunch of back of the envelope math, that the cost of creating a safe AGI is orders of magnitude greater than we will ever be able to raise in charitable donations. Therefore, we need to raise the money some other way. Now, this is not an obvious conclusion, right? What he could have said is, whoops, therefore, we're not going to be able to create a safe AGI, and therefore we should use OpenAI to do something else. But instead, he said, we really, really want to create a safe AGI, or at least an AGI. And so what we're going to do is raise the money some other way. And so he created a whole bunch of weird structures that allowed entities like Microsoft to invest money in or to give money to OpenAI in return for pieces of paper that may or may not end up being worth money in the future. It turns out that those pieces of paper did end up worth being money in the future. Microsoft, to give the most obvious example, invested about $13 billion in OpenAI, and its stake in OpenAI is now worth 10 times that. So, people did make money by investing in OpenAI. OpenAI did use that investment to create ChatGPT and all of its other products. And OpenAI is convinced that creating ChatGPT is good for the planet for reasons. But I think Emily's point is well taken, that it's not easy to find a bunch of people outside OpenAI who would agree that ChatGPT is good for the planet.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, it's requiring all this additional electricity use, stressing the power grids in various places, raising electricity prices.
Planet destroying.
Not good for the environment, I guess, as Elizabeth just said.
And ChatGPT, of all of the different chat LLM-based chatbots out there, is designed to be addictive in the way that many of the other ones are not. Like if you do a Google search and you get like a Gemini answer to your Google search and at the top of your search results, it doesn't end with a sort of eager to please, can I maybe do this for you or that for you, and try and keep you engaged. It just gives you what you are looking for, ideally, and then shuts up, which is, less addictive and probably better for, the psyches of the users. We don't have a bunch of Kashmir Hill stories about people falling in love with Google Gemini.
Right. Oh, here's the number that came out this week. 0.07% of ChatGPT users active in a given week exhibit signs of mental health emergencies related to psychosis or mania. And that sounds like a small number, but it's 560,000 people, more or less.
500,000 people?
Yeah, that's per the math, Casey Newton's math. Yeah.
Well, Casey's a friend of the pod. We'll trust his math on this one.
Yeah, that's how he mathed it. That's a lot of people. We don't need to relitigate, but
well, also ChatGPT is their public consumer facing product, but they're also working on a lot of other stuff. I learned in the prep, which I didn't realize this, they had acquired Johnny Ive's firm because they want to develop a hardware product, which is mind-boggling. Like it didn't really go into what kind of product, but
yeah, no one knows. They're being very secretive about this. They did spend a huge amount of money on a video where Sam Altman and Johnny Ive waltz around San Francisco and say loving things to each other. There has been reporting saying that this attempt to build a hardware product is going more slowly than they had hoped. It is kind of wild that Johnny Ive, who became dynastically wealthy working at Apple, made so much more money by selling his loss-making startup to Sam Altman. I mean, the price tag was reportedly $6 billion. It's completely insane. And then the amounts of cash being thrown around right now in the AI space are wild. But no, I think for the time being, it is fair to say that 99% of the value of OpenAI is ChatGPT and the research that is going on around like extending that and hopefully building this AGI, which I'm not sure that many people want, but Sam Altman does. I do love, by the way, that Sam Altman still doesn't have any equity in this thing, and he's got like no equity, and he's getting paid $72,000 a year to be the CEO.
Yeah, explain that to me. How does he have a lot of money? What's going on with him?
Because he's founded a bunch of other companies and has done very well for himself as an investor. He was the president of Y Combinator for a long time. He was a VC. I think he's the single largest individual investor in Reddit. He has a lot of Reddit shares. But
I bet his AGI, his adjusted gross income, which is what I always think of when anyone says that. I bet it's pretty low and he doesn't pay a lot of taxes. If his income is only $75,000 a year and all his wealth is in stocks.
Yeah, when he does have a predilection for very fast cars, which I'm sure he just buys by borrowing money from his share, from a bank rather than actually having to declare income.
Wow. Wait, so I would just add, I guess, they should be a for-profit company because they make a really successful product that, if successful, and I'm not like an AI hype person, and I think we might talk about that later. I'm not sure. We don't have our plan ironed out yet as we're recording.
We don't just throw this show together,
No, never. But I mean, ChatGPT is an incredibly successful tech product that does already rival Google Search, is stealing business away from Google Search, which is a gigantic money printing behemoth. And if they succeed, like if they keep going down that road, they will be a massive company, even if they don't do the AGI part,
This is an interesting question, right? Because in order to make as much money as Google does, they would need to enshitify themselves to the degree that Google has done, right? The Google search is not in and of itself something that people pay money for. Like as someone who uses search, I don't like happily fork over cash to Google every time I want it to do a search for me. What happens is that Google basically sells me to advertisers and makes the product worse by creating the first search result to be an ad that gives me something that I don't want rather than the thing that I do want, and making the product worse for me. And so the question really becomes, if Google is run by a bunch of noble-minded individuals who sit on the board of a nonprofit that controls the company, rather than by a bunch of people who feel like they have a fiduciary obligation to common shareholders, then might it be less likely to enshitify its product by plastering it in ads? And I don't know the answer.
I don't think that there's anything to stop OpenAI from enshittification, because the nonprofit board seems to be controlled by the for-profit interest and not the other way around.
Well, I mean, so technically speaking, in terms of the structure of the company, it is the other way around. That the nonprofit controls the for-profit.
Well, I realize that, but, in practice.
In practice. I mean, and we saw what happened when the board of OpenAI tried to take action because they were worried about the future of the company, right? They fired the CEO, everyone got rehired, and then the board was out.
The CEO fired the board.
Because money trumps anything else.
Exactly.
In this case. That's the through line of everything here.
Right. And now you look at the board, and it's people like Brett Taylor, who was on the board of Twitter and happily sold out to the highest, to Elon Musk. There's people like Larry Summers, who's never met a dollar he didn't like, and yeah, I am not going to place any faith whatsoever in Brett Taylor and Larry Summers to draw the line at getting revenues from selling ads against, ChatGPT results. But to be clear, they haven't done it yet.
In the history of oversight boards that are put in place, I know this is more than just an oversight board, but in the history of oversight boards that are put in place to make sure no shenanigans go on in various private companies, I'm thinking of Meta/Facebook had an oversight board for a while that did something with something privacy, something.
But it was called an oversight board, but it didn't oversee the company. It just it was like this place you could appeal to if you didn't like the policies of Facebook.
And when News Corp bought the Wall Street Journal, they put, not the same thing as a corporate board. I do understand. But again, they put in place like some kind of oversight board. And they're like, don't worry, we have the oversight board. They're going to be watching us. Like, boards, I don't know, man.
It's liability and cover your ass. It's the, so that if something goes wrong, they're not accused of not being on top of it,
I mean, that's definitely one possibility, right? The other possibility is that it's real. And Emily's asking,
to be sure.
Emily is asking whether there are examples of
I am asking
boards that, which control a company that actually do, provide oversight and keep it on the straight and narrow and stop it from enshittifying. Rolex, weirdly, might be one example. Rolex is a non-profit company. It seems to have done a pretty good job of, maximizing sales and profits without enshittifying its product and making sure that it continues to stay true to its mission of supporting various
selling really
bits of
expensive watches,
art and culture, and
right.
no, selling the watches is the for-profit bit, right?
Okay.
And then the non-profit gets a whole bunch of money from selling the watches, and then it goes off and uses that money in the furtherance of public good.
How much damage can you do as a watchmaker, though? It's
you could mess with the fabric of time.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a fair point. But okay, so let me bring up the example of Glaxo Wellcome, right? Which is a big, profitable pharmaceutical company, again, that is largely controlled by a non-profit. I do think there is a relatively strong case to be made that Glaxo Wellcome is less evil than some of the purely for-profit pharma companies. And for that reason.
So with Rolex, and I don't know about Glaxo, you said that the nonprofit piece does things for the social good. Will the OpenAI nonprofit do anything different from the for-profit arm? Like, will it do something else? So
the for-profit arm is going to be out there, giving ChatGPT to the world, and for better or for worse, changing the world that way. The non-profit arm has two jobs. One of the jobs is to oversee the for-profit arm. The other job is to use its billions in furtherance of making the world a better place, curing cancer, whatever.
Now I feel bad that I really trashed it. I didn't even realize that part.
So we don't know, we don't know exactly how it's going to use those billions, but it stands to reason that when OpenAI goes public in 2026 or 2027, that some proportion of those shares that are being sold to the company will be sold by the non-profit part of OpenAI, and it will use however many billions of dollars it gets from selling those shares in the IPO to spend money on good things, because that's what non-profits are supposed to do. Now, we don't really have, because up until now, the non-profit, OpenAI hasn't been making any money, so the non-profit hasn't really had a huge amount of income or liquidity that it could use to spend, and so its expenditures have been in like the tens of millions rather than the billions. But eventually, and quite soon, I can easily see the expenditures going up into the billions, and then we'll really see what we think of it as a non-profit.
And Sam Altman will one day make money from OpenAI?
Look, I mean, it is naive to believe that he hasn't already made money from OpenAI, just not directly by owning shares in it. He has he has been going around the world trying to sell, Gulf countries on funding a $7 trillion energy thing that he also has stakes in, and this kind of thing.
He's off scanning people's eyeballs.
Oh yeah, he also was scanning eyeballs, and I'm sure he's made money by scanning eyeballs because everything crypto makes money somehow. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things that he can do, and because he's Sam Altman, he gets a lot more. Being Sam Altman, being the CEO of OpenAI opens a whole bunch of doors, and when those doors open, he is very good at making money from open doors.
Great. So he's going to be okay.
Yeah, let's not worry about Sam.
Okay, cool.
Hey there! Before we get back to the show, I want to tell you about the Slatest, which is Slate's daily newsletter that lands in your inbox every evening. It's written by Slate's editor-in-chief, Hilary Fry, and it is the perfect way to end your day a little smarter than you began it. Every issue pulls together the sharpest stories, the most surprising news, and the can't-miss Slate podcasts, including this one, plus smart analysis and a bit of well-earned distraction. From DC to Hollywood to the algorithm, the Slatest keeps you clued in to the world and to Slate. You can sign up right now at slate.com/theslatest. Let's worry instead about the put-upon class of every single American who has a body.
Except Sam Altman.
Possibly even including Sam Altman, because, where is he going to get his health insurance? Health costs are going up. And the news this week is that if you have been buying health insurance off one of Barack Obama's federal exchange type things, then your premiums are going to go up by a lot, by I think 24% on average. It's more than that if you buy it from a federal exchange. It's a little bit less than that if you buy it from a state exchange. But then everyone's premiums are going up. There's a bunch of inflation in the healthcare sector. And Elizabeth, you are here to tell me that this is terribly bad.
This is terribly bad.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree, but Emily, are we in agreement on this one, that when health insurance costs go up, that's just like a bad thing?
It's so bad. It's really bad. It's worse. When Elizabeth suggested we talk about it, I was like, oh, I better learn about this. So I did my little crash course. I talked to one of Axios's great healthcare reporters, Maya Goldman, and she kind of like laid it out for me. And it's so bad. So in 2021, when Biden was president, they did these subsidies for the Affordable Care Act for people who buy health insurance on these exchanges. Health insurance on the exchanges was subsidized for a lot of people, making up to 400% of the poverty line. So,
which we should say is $64K.
Yeah, $64K for households. It's not a lot of money. So, but if you made more than that, you didn't really get that much help. But they did these big subsidies. The argument being like, it's a pandemic, people should have health insurance. We should make it really cheap and easy for people to have health insurance. I mean, that's been the argument the whole time, that people should have health insurance because we live in a society. But it had resonance in 2021, and everyone knows these subsidies were going to expire. But then, we got a different president and a different Congress, and they don't like the subsidies. And now that's like, oh, there's a whole fight going on. So at the same time, health insurance costs are like skyrocketing. They've been going up a lot higher, faster than overall inflation for the past few years for various reasons, including the expected expiration of the subsidies, because health insurers are like, when these things expire, a lot of people are going to drop health insurance, probably healthy people that help make insurance profitable. So we need to raise costs to deal with that. So it's like health insurance prices are going up, subsidies are going down, and that's playing off of each other. And it's creating this like perfect storm of like everyone spends more money on healthcare.
Yeah, no, the dynamic whereby the insurers are raising the costs, not because the healthcare costs are going up, well, although they are doing that, but also because if the price goes up, then healthy people are less likely to take out insurance at all, and that raises the risk profile of the whole group, and so then the average cost of the group has to go up. It's just this horrible vicious spiral. But I am fascinated by this idea that health insurance is a little bit like, or these subsidies rather, are a little bit like the Trump tax cuts, that they were like put into law with an expiry date, by people who wanted them to be permanent. And then, there's a big fight when they expire between the people who want them to be permanent and the people who are like, but they were expiring when they went into law. We should just let them expire. And the sides are completely the opposite sides. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, basically the one and only necessary and sufficient single issue that is overarching the entire government shutdown, Meshuggahs. And that like, if we can work out what to do with these healthcare subsidies, then the shutdown ends. And if we can't, then it doesn't. Is
What's
that right?
crazy is this is a thing that I don't understand about, the politics of it. There are issues and specific things that Republicans have constituencies that they really care about it. The Social Security, Medicare are two of the biggest ones. But healthcare in generally, when you have an aging population, I don't understand, other than just pushing back against Democrats and not wanting to spend more money, why Republicans are so heavily set against keeping the subsidies, because their constituents want it.
My understanding is, in the good faith argument, the White House has made what I would characterize as a bad faith argument, that these subsidies go to pay for health insurance for undocumented people. But the good faith argument, I think why Republicans don't like it, is they don't like giving subsidies to anyone, much less people who aren't even poor. Like, a lot of the comments I see on social media, they'll like pull an example from a news story of like a couple that, pays $500 a month for health insurance is going to have to pay $1,500 a month. And then the couple will be like, doesn't work because they're retired, but they're not, qualified for Medicare yet. And the criticism is like, they don't deserve this help. It's very much like, who deserves the help?
The people who live like very near the poverty line and have been paying $0 a month for the past 4 years, those people are going to go up to like somewhere between $30 and $80 a month, which is meaningful money when you're living on the poverty line. And it is, it seems like not a lot to a rich person like me, but it is a lot of money if you're that poor. And so, yeah, but it's definitely one of those things. But, Medicare is another one of these things that is quite deliberately not means tested. All of us are going to be eligible for Medicare no matter how rich we are. And that helps to sell all of the payroll taxes that we pay, that like, the idea is that I'm sort of funding my future healthcare once I'm in my dotage, even if I'm still rich when I'm old. It's, that this is my payroll taxes going to me rather than this is my payroll taxes going to other people. And so that makes it easier to sell the payroll taxes as a tax. But yeah, you're right that if you don't means test, then obviously then some of the subsidies are going to go to rich people.
Yeah, and this is an example of people just not understanding who their constituents are. Some of the people that are going to be affected by this in the worst way are people who are older but not yet qualified for Medicare. And so there's sort of horror stories of people's premiums doubling from $800 a month for a single person to $2,000 a month, and that's like rent money for a lot of people. And with on top of $7,000-8,000 deductibles, and that's just when you look at the math, I saw a stat somewhere that said the average family is paying $35,000 a year for health insurance now, and just as a portion of income, when you consider median income in this country, that's crazy. It's just a crazy number.
And also, I the argument that these Obamacare subsidies for people who have good incomes isn't fair. Most people have health insurance through their employer, and there are tax benefits that employers get from providing that health insurance. That is a tax break that everyone pays for, that benefits, only some people, better paid people, rich workers, or whatever you want to call it. But it's so invisible, I don't think people get upset about it in the same way.
Workers do not need to pay income tax on the money that is spent on their behalf for health insurance by their employers.
And neither does the employer doesn't pay tax. They get a tax break on that money as well, I believe.
And that is an expense to the employer, and therefore, the employer, that is obviously not an income for the employer, it's an expense for the employer. So they get to deduct that expense from their income when they're calculating their profit. So yeah.
I mean, the taxpayers are paying for this stuff no matter what. And if people drop health insurance and then these uninsured sick people show up at the emergency room, they have to be treated. That costs taxpayers too. Like, it's really interesting because with the subsidies in 21, it really seemed like we were closer to achieving kind of the dream of the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. Like, the uninsured rate went down quite a bit. It seemed like these plans were finally really affordable. Like, the knock on them when Obamacare first came out was like they weren't really affordable, and there were all kinds of people that couldn't do it, and It seems like we were getting closer. A lot of people, like you said, Felix, paying $0 a month, others paying much less than before. It was like, wow, this is really going to happen. Like, this program has become really successful, and now it kind of seems like everything's in question.
So the thing that I keep on thinking about when I read these stories is something that I wrote about a little bit in my book about COVID, which was that there was this political cleavage. COVID really did tear the country apart politically along its own unique lines. It wasn't a D versus R thing particularly, but there was the part of the country who thought of COVID as being a public health crisis that required a public response. And then there was the part of the country that thought of it as being an illness that happens to individuals, and that is an individual thing rather than a societal thing, and society shouldn't, fall over itself to care about those individuals. And I'm seeing that here too. That, as you say, Emily, America, kind of uniquely among rich countries, has for decades had a large population of uninsured adults. And when those adults get sick, they, wind up with massive medical bills, and often they die because they can't afford treatment. And that is considered to be a tragedy by the same people who thought of COVID as being a public health crisis, but is considered to be, I don't know, just like part of the standard sort of Hobbesian bargain that we sign up for when we get born by a lot of the people who life is nasty, brutal, and short. Get used to it. There's just like there's this feeling that like that is just part of the luck of the draw. Like, sometimes you're born rich, sometimes you're poor, sometimes you're born healthy, sometimes you're born sick. And these things just happen to people. And
it's more than that. I think there's something built into the American ethos where success is considered a mark of character, good character, and poverty is considered a mark of bad character.
And health being the same. Like, if you're healthy, that means you're like somehow superior. And if something happens to you medically, then that's if you eat too many seed oils, or like
you did it to yourself,
ingest fluoride in your water, then it's all on you, man.
I a few months ago, I tweeted out, somebody was, doing a thread about how, whether they would move out of the country if things keep getting more authoritarian and blah, blah, blah. And I was sort of thinking about it, and my feeling is it's my country too. Fuck these guys, I'm staying here. But the one thing that I do think about sometimes is if healthcare becomes unsustainable, if you become chronically ill, there is an incentive for people to just move for universal healthcare somewhere. I have an ex-boyfriend who's English, who's lived in the U.S. for a long time, and he always sort of maintained that after a certain age, he would have to go back to England because it's just not sustainable here to be old and sick.
But you can't just move and get health insurance. Like, you have to be a citizen somewhere else.
He had dual citizenship.
He could.
Yeah.
Felix could, but not me. Like, right? You have to apply.
Well, you do have to apply, but like it's
it
is possible to move.
It's possible, but it's non-trivial, and a lot of Americans, especially if they are relatively poor, really would find it hard to legally move to countries with socialized medicine. It's not easy, and it's becoming harder in pretty much every country in the world. But yeah, enough of this depressing
Bleak
news. Let's talk about 100,000 people taking a shit in America.
I knew it would come down to some gross conversation. We're talking about toilets, gold
We're
ones.
talking about one
a gold
particular
toilet.
two gold toilets, actually.
Oh,
Is
right.
what we're talking about. There was one gold toilet that was made by a very famous artist named Maurizio Cattelan. Long-term listeners of Slate Money will recall my rant not that long ago about the banana, defending it as a good artwork. And this is also a good artwork. He made a 18 karat gold, fully functional gold toilet. He installed it in the Guggenheim for a year. 100,000 people lined up for hours to be able to take a shit in this solid gold toilet. He
Which
called it.
which
you
is
have to
called
stop saying
America.
that. Can you just say use the toilet? We don't know
So
what they were doing.
Use the toilet. Obviously it became this kind of meme. It resonated in the Guggenheimian consciousness.
Guggenheimian.
Well done, Emily. We can rely on you for the dad jokes. And
Thank you.
It then made its way to Blenheim Castle in England for some reason, where it was exhibited and from whence it was stolen by a bunch of thieves who realized that since it was solid gold, they didn't need to try and fence this to some kind of art buyer. All they needed to do was chop it up into gold pieces, sell them off, melt them down, and make
Wash it somehow.
millions of dollars. So it kind of got destroyed, and everyone thought that was the end of the story. But it was not the end of the story. There is another chapter to this story, because it turns out that back in 2017, Maurizio Cattelan's gallery, Marian Goodman, sold a second toilet.
Dun, dun.
There was a second toilet all along, and now that toilet is coming up for auction at Sotheby's. And because the gold price has gone up so much, the bullion value of this toilet alone is on the order of $10 million.
I like this better than the banana in that it has that intrinsic value, whereas the banana, or the banana, as some would say, is pretty cheap, right? And this is real. This has real value, not unlike other types of art that we've discussed on the show.
I love Cattelan, and he's made these things that somehow become prescient. And so the fact that the toilets came out right before Donald Trump became president, and the thing is called America, there was a great New York Post headline that said, when it was at the Guggenheim wants you to crap all over America. And it just feels like of the moment.
Yes, what does it mean, Felix?
What does it mean, Felix?
we spoke in the Slack of socialism and something Marxist, something product of labor, something into the toilet, but I couldn't make it make sense when I was thinking about this last night. So I thought I would ask you.
It's conceptual art, Emily.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense.
So let me talk a little bit about two iconic pieces of conceptual art, because you have to understand this piece in the context of the broader history of conceptualism.
You can't just know toilets. You have to know other stuff about art. You can't just be like, it's a toilet. I know about toilets.
It suffices to know toilets, but it becomes a richer artwork if you know a little bit more.
Right.
The more you know.
The more you know.
The more you know. So if you go back to the very beginning of conceptual art, arguably the very first conceptual artwork was a piece by Marcel Duchamp called Fountain. Are you familiar with this word?
Yes.
What is Fountain?
Oh, I think it's a fountain. Is that right?
Elizabeth?
I don't remember.
Is it also a toilet? Didn't Duchamp also do a toilet?
Exactly, yes. Fountain is a urinal placed on a pedestal, or urinal as Americans would say. Placed on a pedestal and reconceptualized as an artwork. And so this idea of taking a piece of plumbing from your bathroom and making it an artwork dates back 100 years, basically, to Marcel Duchamp. Then fast forward 40-ish years from there to the 1960s, and this guy called Piero Manzoni, who was an Italian conceptual artist, started canning his, I hate to use this word, but there's no other word.
Oh, no.
He started canning his own shit.
Come on.
And he called it the shit of the artist. And he would sell cans of his shit as art, right? Because he was making a commentary on how things that are touched by artists seem to be worth a hell of a lot more just because they're touched by the artist. If I put a urinal on a pedestal, that would be a dumb fucking stunt and it would be worthless. But if Duchamp's urinal went up for auction, because it's Duchamp's urinal and not my urinal, it would be worth tens of millions of dollars. So Manzoni then started selling his own shit in cans, and those cans do come up for auction, and they sell for substantial amounts of money. Again, in a way that if anyone else canned their own shit, they would not be able to sell that.
They would be locked up.
So there is a sort of, shall we call it, scatological tradition in conceptual art. And there are other pieces in that tradition as well, and America belongs in that tradition. It also belongs in a tradition of sort of stunt art where you're using an enormous amount of money's worth of materials to make the piece. And the most famous other piece in that vein was a Damien Hirst piece called For the Love of God that was made out of 8,100 diamonds placed in the shape of a platinum skull. And you know, he went around saying that it was worth $50 million just in sort of diamond value alone, but never found a buyer for it. So that is still sitting in a warehouse somewhere, kind of unsold.
So where do you put the kind of art that's so cataclysmically big that most people can't own it, like a big Urs Fischer sculpture? Would you consider that kind of stunny art?
No, because the size is part of the artwork, right? So if you get a massive Richard Serra piece, a massive Urs Fischer piece, even paintings, like one of the things that, you know, oil on canvas artists like to do is to work with scale and to make big paintings and very small paintings. And yeah, scale art is something that is best experienced in person, and definitely the way that you experience an artwork is a function in part of the size of the work of art in relation to the size of you. And when the work of art is much bigger than you, it has a certain effect. And so that is definitely one of the things that artists use, along with, you know, color and texture and conceptual resonance and all the rest of it, to create something timeless and wonderful.
Who's going to buy the gold toilet, and do you think they'll install it in one of their bathrooms?
Justin Sun and Yes is my guess.
Justin Sun's a crypto guy who bought the banana.
Yeah. And Sotheby is accepting crypto in payment for the toilet, and this does kind of strike me. I'm sure that Justin Sun was the first person that Sotheby's phoned up when they got the consignment, and they're like, hey, can we interest you in the toilet? And I'm 100% sure that if Justin Sun ends up buying the toilet, then he will turn it into a whole stunt, and he will allow people to use the toilet, and he will install the toilet in some kind of semi-public place and try and get headlines out of it.
And remind me again how much the toilet is worth just in pure gold?
On the order of $10 million, although it's 101.2 kilograms of 18 karat gold. If you want to do the math yourself, you multiply that by 3/4 to get the weight of actual gold, and then you multiply that by $4,000 a troy ounce, and it comes to like at $4,000 an ounce, it comes to about $9.8 million.
And what did the banana sell for?
6.2.
It's worth more than the banana just right now, just if you melted it down. So it's going to be a lot more than the banana, probably, at the end of the day.
Oh, and because Sotheby's can't resist a marketing stunt of its own, the opening bid is going to be the bullion value of the piece, and then it will just like go up.
That makes sense. And when is this going on sale? So we can all put in our bids.
If you want to bid, phone up Sotheby's. They're in the phone book. and
Phone book.
Get your phone book out.
Get your phone book out. Turn to get out the yellow pages. Turn to S for Sotheby's, and put in your bid, and if you win, you'll find out on November the 18th. That's when the auction is.
You could install it before Thanksgiving. So America, like you have your Thanksgiving dinner, and then you're like, if you need to use the restroom, you can use my gold toilet.
I really like that. Yeah, I mean, you would need to get it from Sotheby's, so like probably you'd need to be in North America somewhere. But yeah, I think that's a almost optimal use case.
Goals, yeah.
I mean, it's called America, and what is more American than Thanksgiving?
Right. What's more American than going to the bathroom after a big Thanksgiving meal and using a golden toilet to do it?
Hard agree. Yes.
What if Donald Trump buys it?
Well, so this is actually there's an interesting story about that, which is that when Donald Trump was president the first time round, he was decorating the White House, and one of his minions approached the Guggenheim and said, "Hey, you have this artwork. Can we please borrow it to put on the wall of the White House, because we like the art, and Donald Trump likes the art, and he wants to have it in the White House," which is the kind of request that presidents do make of museums, and often museums do say yes. But in this particular case, the Guggenheim replied by saying, "No, but we will lend you America if you'd rather have that, if you want that."
And now he's taking his revenge out on everyone. So thanks for that, Guggenheim.
Let's have a numbers round. Emily, what's your number?
My number is 2. That is the number of people that I'm aware of who are named Bill de Blasio.
Oh,
Now.
I love this story so much. And they're both New Yorkers.
Yes, they're both New Yorkers. One was the mayor of New York City. He lives in Park Slope, Brooklyn. The other is a 59-year-old Long Island wine importer named Bill de Blasio, capital D. And the Times of London, which is a reputable newspaper, emailed Bill de Blasio, capital D, 59-year-old Long Island wine importer, and asked him for his thoughts on the maybe new mayor of New York City, Mamdani. And Bill de Blasio, Long Island guy, went to ChatGPT and was like, let's see if we can put something together, some thoughts together for the Times of London, and responded and, gave his thoughts, never claiming to be anyone other than who he is, Bill de Blasio. Times of London ran with it, ran a story, only later to discover, whoops, it's not the right Bill de Blasio, the guy in Park Slope. Then the New York Times ran a story that was like, there's a Bill de Blasio impersonator running around. Then Bill de Blasio of Long Island, who winters in Florida, read that he was being called a Bill de Blasio impersonator and was affronted because, as he said, he was never trying to impersonate anyone. He was just being himself. He figured Times of London would figure out that he wasn't the actual Park Slope Bill de Blasio, but they did not. And now there is a delightful story in Semaphore where Bill de Blasio, Long Island guy, is interviewed. And the best part maybe is that the interview took place through the Ring camera on his house because he was in Florida and the reporter was on Long Island doing the interview through the Ring camera.
I love it.
It is a glorious story. We love it.
So
That's
wonderful.
Some good shoe leather journalism right there.
Just terrific stuff. Really, really happy.
My number is 136,000, which is the price in yen of the Grace Delight tote handbag. It's a very lightweight handbag, and it is the handbag of choice of Sanae Takaichi, who is the new Prime Minister of Japan. And once the bloggers or the social medias worked out what this handbag was, it became massively popular. It is now basically sold out everywhere. If you want to order it from Hamana, which is the 145-year-old Japanese leather goods maker who makes this handbag, you're not going to be able to get it before April, and good luck getting them to return your emails or anything like that. But well done, Prime Minister Takaichi, for creating a new it tote. And by the way, 136,000 yen is about $895. So that's an expensive handbag, but not a crazy, crazy expensive handbag.
It just looks like a big leather purse. I thought it was going to be like, because when you said tote, in my mind, I'm like, New Yorker tote bag. It's
no, it's not a canvas tote bag.
But it's very nice, very classy.
Elizabeth, what's your number?
My number is $59.99, and that is the price of a K-pop demon hunter in costume at Spirit Halloween, which they are totally sold out of, because apparently the way that they sort of engineer these costumes is they try to sort of anticipate demand ahead of time, like even a year or two before, and they did not anticipate the popularity of K-pop demon hunters. And so now if you want that costume, you have to make it yourself. So by the time the pod comes out, you will have probably seen 4 million tiny K-pop demon hunters.
Shout out to my colleague Nikki at Bloomberg, who ordered a K-pop demon hunter Halloween costume from Alibaba or somewhere in China months ago, and it has still not arrived, and she is spinning out. And yeah, she is definitely in a world of like, oh my God, am I going to have to learn how to make a costume at home?
Do you two get dressed up?
I think my kid this year wants us to dress up with him, but we have not come up with an outfit yet. But I went to a party last week where there was a couple and they were dressed as 6'7". One of them was 6 and the other was 7. So if I'm desperate, that's going to be our easy to assemble.
I got a pitch this week from a book publicist who was trying to pitch me on a personal finance book that had been written by a married couple. And she's like, this is a personal finance book on like having happy finances if you're married, written by the couple behind the viral 6'7" Halloween costume.
What?
Like that's their claim to fame. And I was just like, what?
That
Clearly they're
gives
experts.
me great confidence in their financial.
I'm like, if you can come up with a viral 6'7" Halloween costume, then
Manage my money.
obviously I will take your financial advice any day of the week.
They're probably rich from it.
And by the way, the reason it went viral is because everyone was laughing at it and the kids all hate it.
Oh no.
All right, I guess I should cross that one off my list.
I think that's it for us this week. Thank you for listening to Slate Money. Thank you for emailing us on slatemoney@slate.com. Send us photos of your K-pop demon hunters outfit that you managed to order in time from China or buy from Spirit Halloween before they sold out. And thank you to Jessamine Molly and Shana Roth for producing. This has been fun, but it's not over yet because we will, as ever, be back next week with even more Slate Money. And remember to check out the Slatest, Slate's daily newsletter. It's your daily update on the most urgent, surprising, and unusual news delivered straight to your inbox. A special thanks to all our Slate Plus members. If you haven't already, consider joining. Slate Plus members get unlimited access to all of Slate's journalism, plus they get ad-free podcasts, and they help support our independent reporting.